They don't control you, but somehow you feel controlled. You still make choices, you still speak, but something feels off. Like your thoughts aren't fully yours anymore, and you can't explain why. That's the scary part, because manipulation doesn't look obvious. It feels normal. At first, they smile, they agree, they seem kind. Nothing feels wrong. Until one moment, you start questioning yourself. Was that my fault? Did I misunderstand? And that's when it hits you. You're confused in situations that should feel clear. But here's what most people don't realize. Manipulation doesn't start with control. It starts with subtle shifts, tiny changes in how you think. And once it begins, you don't notice it right away, because it doesn't feel like pressure. It feels like influence, and the first sign, you won't even see it coming. You start doubting yourself more than usual. Simple decisions feel harder. Clear situations feel confusing. And you keep going back, replaying conversations in your head. What did they mean? Was I wrong? But here's what most people don't realize. Manipulation creates confusion on purpose. Because when you're unsure, you become easier to influence. Before, you trusted your instincts. Now, you question everything. And that shift is important, because it doesn't happen suddenly. It builds, little by little. They correct you. They twist small details. They make you second guess. And over time, you rely on them more than yourself. Most people miss this part, because it feels like miscommunication, not control. But something strange starts happening. The more confused you feel, the more you look to them for clarity. And that's where things start getting deeper. Now, your reality starts shifting. Not completely, just enough to feel unstable. They say things didn't happen, even when you remember clearly. They change details, they deny moments, and suddenly, you're not sure what's true. That's when it hits you. Your memory feels unreliable. But here's what most people don't realize. This isn't random. It's a pattern. Small distortions, repeated over time, until you stop trusting your own version of events. Most people miss this part, because each moment feels small. But together, they create doubt. Deep doubt, and when you don't trust yourself, you start depending on them, their version, their words, their reality. And that's powerful, because now they don't need to control you directly. You start adjusting on your own. But something changes next, something even harder to notice. You start feeling guilty, even when you didn't do anything wrong. You apologize more, you explain more, you try to keep peace, and it drains you. But you don't see it clearly, because it feels like you're just being understanding. But here's what most people don't realize. Manipulation often hides behind guilt. They make you feel responsible for their emotions, their reactions, their mood, and you carry that weight quietly. Most people miss this part because it looks like care, but feels like pressure. And over time, you lose something important. Your boundaries. You stop saying no. You avoid conflict. You stay silent. And that silence, it keeps the pattern going. But something strange starts happening. The more you give in, the more is expected from you. And that leads to the final realization. Now, you start seeing it. The pattern, the confusion, the guilt, the quiet pressure. It all connects. And that realization, it's powerful. Because once you see it, you can't ignore it anymore. But here's the truth. Manipulation only works when you stay unaware. The moment you notice it, everything shifts. You pause more. You question more. You trust yourself again, and that changes the dynamic. You don't react the same way. You don't accept everything. You create space, and that space, it protects you. Most people think strength is loud, but real strength is quiet awareness. So ask yourself, have you ever felt confused, guilty, or unsure in a way that didn't make sense? And now that you see it, what will you do differently? Comment below, because awareness is the first step to taking your power back.